Hi, welcome to the Game Plan. I'm Rico. Today I'm going to be talking about games that I missed in 2019. So these are games that I wasn't able to get to. I saw them, they looked like games that I'd want to play. I didn't list these in any particular order, but these are grouped in games that they tend to be the games that I want to play, I'm driven to play, but they're not the games that tend to get to the table as often because they tend to be a little heavier, a little bit longer, a little bit thinkier. It's harder to find people who aren't tired at the end of their workday who can play these types of games. But they tend to be the ones that I want to play. And maybe it's because I just don't get to play them as much as I want to. I wouldn't call them, like, I had a previous video about the sweet spot game, and these are not the sweet spot game. These are games that I think last generally a little bit too long for a sweet spot. They're a little too thinky for a sweet spot. They're heavier than the sweet spot, and I really like them. They're kind of, I don't want to say they're my favorite games, but they tend to be my favorite games. Like, they tend to be very highly rated by me, even though I don't get to play them as often. So having said all that, let's go straight in with Maracaibo. Maracaibo is along the Great Western Trail. I would say kind of reminds me of that level of thought that you need to put into the amount of things that are going on, and I love that. It's so nice to have that many puzzle pieces that you can put together, and then when they work out, it's just so satisfying. So I want to try Maracaibo because I feel like it's going to get to that sweet spot of thought that Great Western Trail puts me. So I look forward to that one. Another one is Pipeline. Pipeline, the spatial intelligence portion of that, I really like the lining up and trying to put together tiles, and I mean in this case a pipeline in itself is very interesting to me. And then when you add layers of decisions and management on top of that, it just kind of sings. Like, it tells me that I get to try and put together a lot of different ways of building this engine, and that's what I love, that exploration of all the different ways to think about what you're doing. Looks like Pipeline is going to offer that, so I very much look forward to playing that one. Glenmore 2. I don't know much about Glenmore. I've never played it, and I don't know much about how it plays. But this one is, again, the ones that, given the mechanisms, they're kind of in the wheelhouse of what I like, and tends to be, it looks like this one's a little bit heavier, a little bit thinkier. I like these, I don't want to say farming games, but I like that just, it's the artwork is just these rolling hills in, Scotland, or I think it's Scotland. Glenmore sounds like Scottish to me. And I love, like, when we visited Scotland, it was just beautiful, and that landscape, I love that, and the artwork in this is, obviously matches that a lot, and so that kind of connected with me a little bit as well. And so this concept of, like, a nice looking game, heavier, a lot of thinking, kind of makes me interested. I gravitate to these for some reason, and this one really stuck out for me. This next one is a game that I actually only discovered when I was putting these lists together. I was looking through all these different games, seeing if I had missed any, and just wanted to make sure I covered my ground. And this one I came across, PAX Transhumanity. PAX Transhumanity. Never heard of it before. I am familiar with the PAX series, and I've not played any in the series, but again, they tend to be the ones that I gravitate to, and I want to try them. I've been wanting to try any of them, really, for years, but I just don't know anybody who has them, and it's just kind of hard to come by these types of games. And this one, I started reading about it, and it was kind of cool, like this little, not evolution in the sense of biological evolution, but like population evolution, I guess, or not civilization building, but there was just this element of, like, trying to build out your population, and it's like political, I don't want to say gerrymandering, but I think it's something along those lines of, like, political manipulation, that kind of thing. And I thought that was very interesting. And as I was reading through the mechanisms that they put in place and reading some of the comments about it, I'm like, yeah, this sounds like a game that's really thinky, and one that I think would land for me. And I want to try this one, and I have been wanting to play, like, so many of these in the series, and I just haven't had a chance. So this one's just going into the queue. So we'll see what happens. So the next one is City of Big Shoulders. City of Big Shoulders. I think that's a strange name for a city. I actually don't know if it's a nickname for a city. I should probably find that out. But it looks interesting. It's kind of that. It looked 20s maybe, the Prohibition era, something like that. It looks big and heavy and very involved in lots of economics. I don't know exactly what the mechanisms are in that, but it looked like that stocky, economic-y, grindy that I just tend to gravitate toward and I tend to love, and so I wanted to give that one a shot. This one falls into those category of games I don't ever expect to play, like Arkwright, that are just so big and so off the beaten path that I don't know anyone who's into those enough that I'll ever really find it and be able to play it. I mean, maybe at a con if I can schedule a gameplay of it, maybe, but usually these types of games people want you to have already learned and played the game. So it's just kind of one of those, it's really hard to get onto that first rung of the ladder. Food Chain Magnate is another example of a game like that for me. Yeah, this one kind of falls into that category of, man, I'd love to get there, try it at least once, but I don't know that it'll ever happen. So the last one I'm going to look at is Trismegistus, and this one, I don't know, it's one of the, I like the other games in the series. I like the idea of this designer, this design team putting together, I don't know, just these layers again, these layers of decisions. It looks like there's just so much going on in this game. The theme is a little bit interesting to me. I'm not really taken much by it, but it's definitely a shift from their previous games, and so yeah, this one kind of just keeps kind of poking at me, right? This isn't a game I've necessarily heard a lot about, and I don't really know much about it, but for some reason I look at what it looks to be giving, and it looks like the type of game that I would like to try. I'd like to play it. It has a lot of interesting decisions going on, all that kind of stuff, that hope of like, yeah, this would be one of those thinkers, just this grindy thinker. So hopefully I'll get to try this one sometime. We'll see. Well, that's it. Those are my 6 games of like kind of thinkier, heavier. Probably won't get to these as quickly or as often as the others. But one can hope. Let me know if there's any other games that you feel fit into this category of kind of bigger, heavier games. Love to hear about them. I'd love to put them on the endless list of the games that I hope to get to someday. Let me know if you've played any of them, what you guys think. I'd love to hear that as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.